My name is Jim Apodaca. I'm an OKR coach and agile thought leader. I'm also the president and founder of Apodaca Consulting. At Apodaca Consulting, we help our clients accelerate profitability and reduce operational costs using a powerful combination of objectives and key results, Scrum, and AI. And on average, our clients achieve 3 to 5x in annual recurring revenue, accelerate go to market by up to 50%, and an increase in efficiencies by 40%. I'm also your host of the Execution Gap, a podcast that explores why business strategy fails and how the top 10% of leaders close that gap. And today I'm joined by Lucy Wang. Lucy is the Vice President of Product Marketing at Oleria, a company at the forefront of emerging security trends, delivering cutting-edge technology on a reliable platform. Lucy is a strategic product marketing leader with over 15 years of experience in product strategy and go-to-market, designed to elevate brand visibility, product adoption, and revenue growth. With an MBA in technology management and an MSc in computer systems, Lucy combines technical depth with storytelling expertise, helping companies translate complex technology into compelling narratives that resonate with customers. Lucy, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Jim. Happy to be here.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lucy, and I'm currently leading the product marketing at Oleria, an identity security based in Bellevue, Washington.
No. And before we jump into the questions, Lucy, why don't you tell us a little bit more about you? Tell us about how you kind of your journey to where you are today. Just help us understand more about Lucy.
Absolutely. My journey here is actually interesting and a little unconventional. I started out as an engineer at Disney, out of all the places. Over the last 20 years, I have changed a few swimming lanes. So I have done product management, eventually product marketing, and also marketing, because I realized there's a true calling. Because if your passion becomes your work, and it's not, you don't have any pain anymore. So it's just to translate highly complex technical solutions or the tech stack into something buyers will understand and use and will come back for more. And before working for a series of startups, I spent over 12 years at Microsoft Azure and also AWS, managing the go-to-market strategy for a portfolio of cloud services in data AI. And you could say I have a little experience with cloud and cybersecurity. So that's my rough story.
Yeah, no, I love it. And your resume is very impressive. I was going through your LinkedIn again last night, just kind of preparing for our call today. And yeah, very impressive resume. And so I'm curious, I mean, you've led go-to-market strategies across several emerging tech spaces. What are the key ingredients of a successful go-to-market when launching products?
There are quite a few, but I will be succinct. First, I would say just be humble and be flexible. You got to fail fast and learn. Even you have the best GTM plan, but when it hits a market, you just never expect a lot of things can really happen. So I would say the first thing I'm looking at is market fit. When you come up with something, you got to figure out really, what does your product do? Are you doing it as a better product, as a disruptor, or you are charting your own category? So that will put you in different spots. Now, once you understand that, then you need to understand your ICP, the ideal customer profile. But that's both the buyers and the influencers. And where do they hang out? Then you got to know your product and the strengths and weaknesses, really in a very objective way. Because we all think our baby is the best looking one. But other begs to differ. So you just have to objectively look at your product, stack up against other competitors. And then I would say the very important part, next one, is you have to understand your adoption model. So what do I mean by that? So if your product is self-serve and catering, say, developers, so your whole goal is to make sure the adoption is self-service friendly and the whole process is smooth for these people without your help. So that can result in a whole different type of go-to-market strategy. I won't go into details. But if you try to sell to enterprises, that's a whole different story. It has to be hands-on, white glove approach. You may need to run multiple campaigns, gen events. So there's a lot of nuances there. So it really depends on, you have to understand how are you planning your go-to-market strategy. Give all those things into consideration. And finally, to make a true successful GTM initiative work is just to learn and adjust until you hit your strikes and hit your goals.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of fail fast is what I'm hearing you say.
You have to.
Yeah, and I'm curious. I mean, when teams are moving so fast and moving towards a quick launch like that, where do you see GTM efforts most often break down? Is it around strategy, execution, cross-functional alignment? Where is that kind of a follow-up question to that?
Yeah, I would say I've seen sometimes it's the internal disconnect sometimes because it depends on the size of your company. Smaller company is very easy. It's like, hey, we have this vision. Let's translate into this product and then go to market with the strategy. Very easy, right? You're sitting in one space. You just walk on to someone's desk and say, hey, from what I've seen this one to what you pitch to the customer should be the same thing. But in reality, particularly in a large environment, you come up with an apple. By the time the salespeople pitch to the customer, it becomes an orange. So to me, it's the internal disconnect where you involve large teams and departments and different functional teams. That's what I have seen that sometimes is interesting in terms of strategy and execution. And then even when you manage all the way to the end and it hits field marketing, every region have their different customization again. So under orange, are you selling? What type of orange are you selling? You see what I mean? So it's the messaging and strategy consistency that sometimes I see is not well carried out.
Yeah, yeah, and, it's interesting you mentioned that. I work with clients to implement objectives and key results and OKRs, and really understanding what our strategy is and how we're going to measure ourselves and hold ourselves accountable is really key to keeping everybody on the same page and keeping everybody aligned, and really understanding kind of what that fail fast looks like exactly, and then iterating from there, and so I found that framework is highly effective in doing that, but you're 100% right. I mean, keeping everybody aligned is important because, to your point, I mean, what kind of orange are we selling exactly?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, I love that. And so, you wrote an article on LinkedIn. It was titled "Marketing in an Early Stage Startup Beyond the Traditional Playbook." And in the article, you talked about how product-led growth is transforming the relationship between marketing and product teams. How have you seen this play out in real life, and what do you think it takes for marketing and product to truly work as one?
Yeah, this is one of the best topics. I can talk about this all day long. My personal experience and also my advice to my team has always been the PMM, which is product marketing manager, and PM, which is product managers. They need to be the besties. It doesn't matter it's by products or by functional area. You have to be besties. You have to join at the hips. So this relationship goes beyond just weekly sync. It's mutual respect. It is upstream planning. You gotta involve PMM early on. You cannot just say, hey, a week before major release, FYI, we're going out with this. Go home, good luck, good break. No, you can't do that. So it is really mutual respect and also takes a PMM a lot of time constant learning. This is my advice to a lot of my little bit more junior PMM who sometimes ask me to be their mentor, is that don't get scared by the technical jargons. You will learn those. But you need to spend some time reading the document, understanding the technical stack, understanding the architecture. So you go to your PMs and asking informed questions, right? You don't ask them, tell me more. How do I write this? I don't know anything about it. So you write this for me. I will just edit it into a better copy. No, that's not a healthy relationship. You should be able to articulate the product roadmap, for example, your core product differentiators in front of, say, an analyst, a PR person, or in like an interview. You should be able to articulate that. So when your PM is not around, you are the proxy of the product. You should have that confidence to speak to the outside world. To me, that requires a really mutual respect of each other's expertise and time to be able to become a true partner, to form the true partnership, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. And that relationship is so important. And I appreciate that you call it out and I appreciate that you call out that it's not just a weekly sync, right? That it's more than that. And, on past projects where I've worked on, had successful go to market, that relationship there between your product manager and your marketing team is just, it's key. And, and when you have those synergies, I mean, you can achieve some pretty cool stuff.
Exactly. The constant constructive feedback I've heard from the PM side on the PMM part is PM is like, I've told you 10 times. Why don't you get it? I'm busy, building this product, but you're forever nagging me. Can you check this? Can you do this for me? Where is the document? So that's a constant complaint that the marketer doesn't understand what I'm trying to build. It's a real frustration. But on the PMM side, it's like they just been building something I don't understand. They never even loop me in the discussion, right? So that's a cycle you want to break very early on
Yeah.
to form that strong bond with each other. The healthy relationship will really push you far.
Yeah. No, 100%. And it's the last thing you want to do is come to your marketing team a week before a launch and say, "Hey, we need to do we need your help," right?
That's luck.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And so I'm curious, your leadership journey spans startups and large organizations. How has your leadership style evolved as you've grown in responsibilities and scale? And I'm just curious, when you think about leading through change, what systems or rhythms have helped your team stay grounded and focused?
Yeah, I typically approach, leadership is such a big topic and people have been writing books about it, right? Like serious podcasts and all that. But to me, my version of leadership has three components. The first one are the basic principles that stay true and constant with me. So those are the things that to be a leader, you gotta have vision, you gotta have execution capability and problem solving skills. And that's also an eye to discover and nurture and grow talents. So those are non-negotiable to be a leader. And then the second part is that Microsoft really taught me well because we have to be sent to those management offsites for like 3-4 days or a week
Yeah.
to make sure you understand how to be a manager. This is like at least 12 years ago. So from there, I learned this thing. It's called adaptive leadership. So what does that mean? When the person joins your team, you have to be a little bit hands-on, even at the risk of be called micromanagement
Okay.
to help this person get up and running fast. Then once the person gets comfortable in those areas, you need to let go and delegate. Give them the guardrails, help them remove blocks, right? And let them rip. And then when this person becomes an expert in that area, I will tend to use them as the sounding board. I need to use them as the advisor for me because I cannot be expert in every single silos. I need my team to develop, to deliver so the entire team can grow. The second thing, interesting, you mentioned changes and evolutions, is this mental model that I benefit from, which you probably heard of it. Other people say it's a forming, storming,
Right.
norming, and
Hmm.
performing. That was a concept created by the psychologist. I believe it's Dr. Bruce Tuckman.
Yeah.
So when you use that, it's just like allow the new team to take a step back, have a break, get to know each other, understand the new team dynamics, and then recommit to a new goal. Change is hard for everyone, from the manager to the teams. Sometimes it can be because the result of reorg. Other times it can be a result where you inherited someone from other teams and you don't even know that person, which is not fair to those people because they have to prove to you again. So there's a lot of underground emotions that you have to delve into. So that benefit quite a bit for me. And lastly, I would say with bigger companies, you have a lot more resources and responsibilities. As a result, the leader should really focus on the larger picture, the bigger picture, and then really be an execution enabler. So what do I mean by that? You really communicate a goal to people. You really help them build the foundation for them, build the swimming lanes for them,
Right.
and really give them what they need to be successful and then help them go forward. Now, at the smaller company, you look around, it's just you plus a few people or you plus you, right? Me, myself, and Lucy at times for the smaller company. So in that case, I have to be a thinker and a doer at the same time. There's just no other way around because you turn around and say, hey, so-and-so, get this thing done. You realize that's yourself.
Yeah.
So that's what I've learned over the years and how to evolve your leadership style.
Well, and I appreciate that you talk about the Tuckman model, right? I teach that with all of my clients, whether we're implementing OKRs or whether we're implementing Scrum. And the reason I teach that is because, to your point about the forming, the storming, the stages that you go through in the Tuckman model, it's important to understand that and why that exists, right? I mean, just because we go through a couple of trainings doesn't mean that we're going to be at that performing level. And it does take some time. And so, like, for example, when I implement Scrum with my organizations, I usually allow them 3 months. So basically 6 sprints if we're doing 2-week sprints. And over time, they become accustomed to the rhythms of what we're doing. They become accustomed to the language that we're using and the tools that we're using, the roles and responsibilities, the accountability that really comes with that, right? And that doesn't happen overnight. That does take some time. And I think it's important then when you are implementing that type of change that you do give yourself some grace as an organization and that you set your expectations accordingly, right? Because again, we're not going to be performing after 1 week of training. There's that break-in period where we do need to become accustomed to it. So I really appreciate that you call that out.
Yeah, and particularly that model also helped me really to get beyond just team meetings and get to know each person. Because, like I said, there's a lot of undercurrents in this case, and a lot of time I just listen to them talk. Because during a reorg, a lot of people's feeling can be hurt. And they are not performing not because they don't want to, it's because they can't. So you got to listen to that, dial into those emotions, respect that, and make sure you coax the best version out of that person.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that. Coax the best version out of that.
Version out of that person.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. And so I'm curious, in today's environment, it's easy to get lost in vanity metrics. What KPIs or success measures do you think truly reflect marketing's impact on growth? And what are the must-have metrics that every marketing team should be tracking?
Like I said, in typical, I approach those questions with it depends. And so it depends on what is marketing goal. If your marketing goal is to do a brand awareness, they can be many vanity KPIs. But if what you said is like, hey, how do you help a company grow? Grow means a lot of things. Then it can be revenue growth. Typically, that's what we mean. Now let's focus on, because awareness is so many must have and optional ones. But for growth, let's talk about growth, because that's what most people care about. So remember earlier we talked about the product-led growth versus the sales-led one. So product-led growth, to me, the most important thing is that, yes, you can measure all the web traffic, social share, and all that goodies. But at the end of the day is the adoption rate. So people read this, say, documentation, people download this webinar, and they convert, they sign up because your free trial session is so easy. So to me, the must-have KPI is the adoption by channel. So I'll give you one example. When I worked at AWS managing their Elastic Cache, it's a database service. We went all the way into different channels. And we realized that out of all the organic one, the SEO part takes almost 60-something% of the traffic. And the rest for the pay or in between is emails and direct typing. Very interesting. So that changed our little go-to-market strategy. Is that we really wanted to double down on educating the developers, right? Because they really shy away from marketing languages, like big campaign, flashy campaign. That doesn't sit well with them. But if you come well with like, hey, how get you started in 10 minutes? How to get to the next level? How to become an expert in XYZ topic? They come up. Once they learn and get what you have for them, they will adopt. So that's for the product-led motion. Now let's talk about the sales-led one. So sales-led one, it's a different beast. And you have to understand the funnel. From top of funnel to move the leads into the middle to the bottom. So I would say the top of funnel healthiness, those KPIs, there's a bunch of names for it, or the conversion in the middle. I will give you one is like marketing qualified MQL to sales accepted lead to sales qualified lead SQL. Those are the key things you have to measure. Yeah. And then the bottom of the funnel, you have to make sure it turns into a pipeline of opportunities. What's the size of that? What is the ROI of this marketing campaign? Those are the hard numbers. And it's difficult to meet certain criteria. Yeah. So people sometimes think about marketers as, oh, you just post beautiful posts on social media. That's all you do, right? Yeah. No. Marketer is art and science. You got to look at all the data and say, oh my God, why is this not moving? Why I spend all this? What do I do wrong? Is that content? Is that the channel? Is that the timing? What is it? So you're constantly learning, adjusting from content to funnel to channels to outreach and to figure it out. And in the process of doing that, all the KPI I mentioned above will help you pinpoint and what your gaps are. Yeah. So
yeah, well, and it's interesting you say that about kind of that I guess for lack of a better word, stereotype around marketing, because I come from that school, right? Prior to working with a very talented marketing team, I really knew none of what they did, right? I thought they put out some emails that had some great pictures on them and so forth, right? But that was, that was my understanding of marketing. And then I was fortunate to work with an amazing marketing team and really understand, kind of going back to the metrics piece of it, what's important when it comes to marketing. And, in terms of vanity metrics, we had 80% open rates. That's awesome, right? We're killing it.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Yeah, but how are we converting exactly? Are we is that call to action that we have in that email, is it actually converting? And are we seeing our customer, are we seeing more customers as a result of it? So, and that was really helpful in understanding, just kind of more of what marketing does. And so, yeah, being exposed to a very talented marketing team, I have a newfound respect for marketing, and yeah, no, I appreciate that.
Growth marketing is hard. It's really hard. Yeah.
Well, and then so when we talk about the future of product marketing, as you look ahead, how do you see the role of product marketing evolving, especially as AI becomes more deeply integrated into every part of the business?
Yeah, I wish I have a crystal ball I can look into, but based on what I have seen so far, so this impact not just product managers, but like marketers overall. So I would say that in an era where AI is writing a lot of things for you, and you have to be the strategic designer or architect of the go-to-market strategy because the content part will follow. It will it will fall into the pieces because AI is creating all the things for you. Like sometimes you can write a blog really fast. You just write some ideas and make sure, hey, at this tone, based on my expertise or based on this industry, you can create a blog in like 2 minutes. And then it's what I call the good enough draft, right? That is like first draft. Then you got to like close the 30% gap of the AI hallucination.
Yeah.
So once we're doing a lot more, I think PMM really need to focus on the core part, which is positioning, messaging, and narrative. How do you stand out in a whole sea of noise? That's something that you have to be a lot better at because this is something AI doesn't know as good as you do with your product because the product is not being released yet. What you see on the website can be different from what you're really creating. So I would say just be a strategic thinker, architect, and designer of go-to-market strategy. And then the second part is really you will become an execution auditor in a way. A lot of things right now it's not happening, but down the road I can see certain campaign can be just pushed out by AI. Yeah, I mean, what stop them from doing that? You just tell them, hey, these are the copies for these part. Schedule them going out this way. By the way, while you're launching that, write a bunch of social promotion for me. AI can execute this for you down the road. So what's your role in that case? So what your role is to always audit the whole process and figure out what are the channels that give you the best ROI. And then you double down. So you adjust your not policy, your strategies really fast and real time. This is something we have to wait. Like currently we have to wait for a month or so when the data trickling in and like, oh, okay, this is doing fine. Oh, that doesn't do well. But by the time you adjust and launch another campaign to address that gap, 3 months has passed. So AI can do this, I wouldn't say instantly, but it will be a lot more close to real time. So your job becomes a execution
Yeah.
auditor.
Well, and you're so right. I mean, you can have AI pop out all of this stuff for you, right? But you still need to know the strategy behind why you're having all of this AI do all of this thing. But what I appreciate about is the oddity piece, right? The the AI hallucinating piece of that also, right? And I heard the term when I first got into AI. It's been about a year now since I've kind of gotten involved with it, but I first heard the term hallucinating. Didn't really know what it meant. And then ChatGPT started hallucinating on me. And I knew exactly what they meant at that point. So, it's auditing that piece that is crucial. It's not just copy paste and hope it
No, you
hope it
can't.
works, right? It's about really understanding, that auditing piece of it. And that auditing piece goes back to your strategy again too, right? And really understanding why you're doing the things and why you're having AI do all of these cool things.
Right. Yeah. I would say that, originality is where you can beat AI. AI can copy and paste, but the domain knowledge, the creativity, originality, those are the things to make human and different. That part cannot be replaced by AI. Now, I worked at a different company before. It's called relational AI. What it does is doing ontology based on a bunch of data. So that ontology is critical. Because you know why? So you ask ChatGPT a question, but ChatGPT will never give you a question about, hey, say Salesforce, what is their revenue for this quarter? Those are internal data. You will never know.
Yeah.
Right. But by building this additional say, ontology on top of that, you can eliminate that hallucination. If Salesforce allow you to get deeper into their domain. Otherwise, the content is very horizontal. It doesn't go deep, causing all kind of hallucination because they don't know. So they start to spin up a storm on their own. It can say a lot of things, but doesn't say anything.
Right. Yeah. No, well said. Well said. So, in terms of advice for founders and other thought leaders, as you know, the name of this podcast is The Execution Gap, a podcast that explores why business strategy fails and how the top 10% of leaders close that gap. In your many years of experience, what's one gap that comes to mind that you've seen time and time again? And how have you learned to close that gap? And what advice would you give to other leaders that are facing a similar gap? And then kind of to piggyback on that, what's one execution gap that you're currently managing, and what advice would you seek from leaders who've previously experienced that same or a similar gap?
It's a great topic. The consistent theme I've seen is, we mentioned this earlier, is the consistency from strategy to execution to landing. There's always pockets of gap. As if you are doing a game in a really loud environment, you try to whisper to your next door neighbor and then have them pass on the information down 3, 4 layers down. And then the end result is very different. So I would say that is really communication is the key. From when you have the vision, you need to make sure everybody rally around that. And during the execution, make sure all the key people are involved, right? And always check, because if you don't do that, like I said, it's from apple to orange, and then becomes what flavor of orange are you talking about?
Right.
And also, I would encourage people to ask questions. So sometimes I see there's a disconnect between just marketing and sales. Marketing is like, hey, we have the world's most beautiful presentation deck. Why don't you use it? And then sales is like, this is so hard to pitch. I don't understand why you're doing it.
Yeah.
But they don't talk to each other. As a result, the sales will develop their own version because they have to customize based on what the customers want at that moment. So by the time the marketer discover what the sales are using, it's so different.
Yeah.
And then they create this tension. I don't think that's necessary. I think there should be a very clear communicational channel always open between the two teams. Like, give me feedback. I will adapt my master deck so you can take certain pieces, but don't change our key messaging.
Yeah.
Right. So, it's like when we started out, this product can do 5 things. By the time you talk to the salesperson said we can do 2 things. Or this thing can do 8 things. We're like, we don't do that. You see what I mean? So I think it's execution gap. It's how do you pass the vision down to landing end to end consistently?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, I agree, and you're preaching to the choir. You really are, and I love what you're saying because I mean, again, kind of going back to the work that I do, just the strategy, the execution of it all, and really it comes down to communication, right? And speaking with team members and having a consistent communication cadence in terms of why we're having these meetings and why we're having these discussions. Giving the opportunity to ask questions. One of the things that I teach with objectives and key results is psychological safety and the importance of psychological safety when it comes to really just organizations in general, right? And with psychological safety, it's really that ability to go speak up, right, without fear of negative consequences and being able to to challenge things. And and when you have psychological safety within your organization, you can come up with some amazing things. You can come up with some amazing ideas. And it's unfortunate that there are those organizations out there that are still very absent of that psychological safety. And if if we failed on a project, rather than understanding why we failed on that project, it's more about, well, why did we fail on that project? So there's less learning there, and it becomes more accusatory at that point. And organizations and teams are, they're hesitant about speaking up and saying those things, and rightfully so. If I'm on a team and you've asked me to take on a new project and to be ambitious, and we fail to hit that project, and then now I'm in trouble because we didn't hit that cool.
yeah, and the providing a safety net is very important. It's like a safe environment. You can be yourself.
Yeah.
And my learning or advice to other leaders is almost be a dictator of simplicity. You gotta find that one sentence, non-negotiable thing Like this is who we are. That prevent you to turn an apple into orange. Make things down because in my world, my neck of the woods, technology. Sometimes I can see this technical blah just walking around. Oh my God, I can talk all those jargons all day long, like to shut you down because I know so many jargons. But that creates a lot of fear with the selling team, the go-to-market team, because
Yeah.
they don't understand all this. Their goal is to close a deal, bring some bacon home, but they can't deal with the da 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 da. This connect to this bubble connect to that bubble, this bubble sit on top of a layer. You gotta make things simple for them to understand. So to me, is simplicity and consistency. Find out something like a couple sentences, maybe one sentence is too simple. Maybe 3 sentences is not negotiable. Make sure that lands. And it can go through repetition or enforcement. If it's important, say it 3 times
Yeah.
and bring it down as if you're pitching to your grandma. So to me, those are the winning strategies I've been using. People probably don't realize that I'm doing that, but I'm doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm curious, is there an execution gap that you're currently managing that you would where advice from others that have managed the similar gap, would that be helpful? Is there a similar gap that you're managing?
I would say the current company is really we are a small startup. So I think it's really well oiled. Everybody's doing their best. I would say that once we have more budget and everybody can, align with the things we want to do and prioritize more so we can be stronger showing up right now. Because right now there are so many things I want to do, but I have to prioritize. This is a learning from, a startup company. You want to do so many different things, but discipline and priority will get to where you are. So I would say that's probably the execution challenge right now.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and
Yeah.
and when companies start to scale, I've heard that from other clients, right? When we start to scale our company, I mean, it becomes more and more challenging to keep everybody on the same page, and to be able to understand what our strategy is and understand what our objectives and be able to have those conversations is key, especially in startup organizations because everything is moving so fast too, And so, yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. Yeah,
That's great. Yeah. Particularly, this is something that, if it's the first time you try a startup, a lot of people from bigger corporations, they don't quite understand. I have this vision. I need XYZ amount of budget to hit that goal. Why can't I get it? No, you don't. You got to use organic channel. You got to be nimble. You got to think out of the box. You got to be strappy. So I think those are the execution thing that I think it will be helpful for whoever wants to, take a career in startup world. You can't just show up 9 to 5. You have to have this ownership mentality.
yeah, yeah. Well, and the big thing there too, kind of going back to priority, it's understanding what you can achieve versus what you can't achieve. And, versus so it's really about understanding what's in scope for what we're trying to accomplish versus what's out of scope and being able to manage that and understanding kind of what your day-to-day looks like in addition to the project work or this lofty goal that you're trying to achieve, right? There's only so many hours in a day. And it's important to recognize what your velocity looks like and where your limitations are. And key to that is really understanding our strategy and our priorities.
Exactly right. And there's another thing is that sometimes people, so that goes back to your vanity KPIs. A lot of people are doing a lot of things that are really busy
Yeah.
activities all day long. But if you don't see it, say this is one of execution gaps, sometimes I do see people that your activity doesn't tie back to the whole company's business goals. So the business is going through, say, we only have 4 priority this year. That's it. We are not doing this or that. But you will continue doing something that actually contribute to the other little things. A tight alignment with all our company priorities and objectives, I think will really help cut down the noises quite a bit.
Yeah, yeah, no, and I'm sure we could talk about this for probably the rest of the day. You're speaking my language, but kind of want to wrap it up here. Really enjoyed our conversation. Was really excited to have you on the show, but kind of just winding down when you're not, doing all this cool marketing stuff that you do, all this magic that you do. What do you like to do in your free time? What's Lucy doing in her free time?
Right. I like to do gardening. I have a little green thumbs. At least I don't like to deal with weeds. And I like to make soap. And I've been making soap for 15 years. It's a way to help me relax. And on the other side, I like to do it's called a body combat. So it's a little like a martial arts classes. It's just cardio classes, but I like to do that. So
Yeah.
So that's what I've been doing, just help me relax and, get in touch with my inner creative part.
Yeah, well, and you might be onto something. You're the second guest that I've had on that is into gardening, and I don't know, maybe there's some zen there that I might be able to tap into there. But it's and my wife loves to garden, and so I don't know. Maybe there's
There is something there. It's like a nurturing. You put a little bit thing, they give you a fruit. They give you a little tomato, like what? Or give you a beautiful flower. It's just like it's alive. It's very nurturing and good experience. Maybe it comes with age. Like before, I'm like I was like you, like oh what why? No, it's so nurturing to see little things just like poof, it's into a from a seed or seedling into a little thing.
yeah.
It's so rewarding.
Yeah, well, and if it's something that you can do that just kinda clears your mind and just kinda allows you to focus, I think we all need to forget about things for a little while and just kind of focus on something that kinda helps
Mm,
helps calm that.
exactly.
Well, Lucy, I've really enjoyed our conversation, and I've it's been an honor and a privilege to chat with you. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Now, if people wanna learn more about you or Oleria, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Just connect with me on LinkedIn. Yeah, it's the best way to find me because I post ideas and thoughts over there. And yeah, and thank you so much for this opportunity to chat about something that's so near and dear to my heart. And also for those who are listening, I hope this conversation helped you a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. This podcast is all about paying it forward, and I think you've left a lot of marketing nuggets that others out there can consume. So if they want to get in touch with you, find you on LinkedIn. So yeah, no,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, Lucy, like I say, it's been great having you on the show. Really appreciate your time, and yeah, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Awesome. Thanks, Lucy.
Yeah, thank you.